Hi everyone, I'm Luzan. On this video, we'll be working with the structures in C. I'll try my best to describe you the basic concepts of structure in C by writing a program for this interesting problem I have today. If you watch till the end of this video, you'll learn how we define structures, structure variables, array variables inside a structure, structures as arrays, nesting of structures, and more. If you have not already subscribed me on YouTube, then this might be the right time, as I'm planning to upload more videos related to programming and you may not want to miss those. Here we have a table with some fields for which we'll be creating a structure later in our program. This structure will be used later in our program to store various information of students like their name, roll number, GPA, address, and date of birth. As you can see, the GPA 8 here represents an array to store GPA of 8 different semester of a student. So here we have a sample data of one student. We have name as a string, roll number as integer number, GPA as an array of floating point numbers for representing 8 different GPAs for 8 semesters. We have address with street name and city as a string, ward number as integer, and in date of birth we have month as a string and day and year as integer. As you can see, address and date of birth have 3 different fields of their own. What we can conclude from this is these 2 headings can be constructed as 2 different structures and then nested within the main structure. We'll come to this part later in our programming session as well. So our main question for this structure is we need to write a C program to store data of 45 different students in this structure. Then also create a menu driven structure on console with 3 different tasks and perform those tasks as mentioned. The first task is to print name and address of students who have Malepatan as a street name, and the second task is to print name and GPAs of a student who scores average GPA of 3.2 or above. Then the third task is to print name and date of birth of students who were born before 2000. I hope the question is clear. If you have not understood the question, then you can watch it from the beginning, and if you are clear, then let's move on to the programming session. I'm using Dev C++ to write the program. If you are using any other code editor or compiler, then it is okay. So let's start by writing the preprocessor directives. First off, we'll need include stdio.h, as we'll be using functions like printf, scanf, and all that is declared inside this header file. We'll come to other preprocessor directives when we discuss about those functions inside our program. First up, let me also define few constant, like define len. I'll be using this as length of array in our character strings. I'll be giving 50 as the length, and I'll define another constant size. This will be used to define the size of the structure itself, as we'll be defining the structure as array, and that array needs to have some size because we are storing data of 45 different students. So for now the size is 45. Now let's define our structure. To define the structure, we need to use the keyword given by C programming, that is struct, and then we write name for the structure, that is also called tag name, as we are storing students information. So I'll use the tag name student. So our first information or first member of the structure will be name, and that will be a character array of length len plus 1. Plus 1 here is for null character or null terminator that is stored on the last index of character array. So another information is int roll number. These variables inside the structure are called structure members. So another will be our GPA, that is of float type, and GPA is an array of 8 different GPA. So for address, now we need to create another structure inside our main structure, that is our student structure. So while defining address, we use struct keyword, and then we give tag name, and we define our structure member inside address, that is word number as integer, street name as character array of size len plus 1, city as another character array of size len plus 1, and then we give a variable name to access these member names later on our program. Let's give the variable name as address. What you need to understand is the tag name and variable name cannot be same. You may be confused that these two are address, but what I have done here is the tag name has the first letter as uppercase and the variable name is all on lower case. So this is one way of creating a nested structure inside our main structure, that is by defining the structure itself inside the structure. So while doing so, we do not need to write the tag name, as this is inside the scope of the main structure. We cannot later define variables for this particular structure, so we can omit this tag name. So another approach is creating a structure outside the main structure and then declaring a variable for that structure. So for that, what we can do is we can create a structure for date of birth outside our structure. Struct dob int day char month, that is of size 10, and then int year. So I have the tag name, but I can omit the member or variable name here because I'll be declaring variable name inside our main structure. To do so, we need to use struct keyword, then our tag name of date of birth, and then we can declare a variable dob. Okay, you can see two different ways of nesting a structure over here. One is by writing the structure itself inside the structure, and then another is to write structure outside the scope of the main structure and later declare a variable for that structure. While doing the second method, what you cannot do is you cannot define the structure just below this main structure. What you cannot do is like this, you cannot define it over here. What happens if we do so is while compiler comes to line number 19 over here, it will not know what kind of structure dob is, because C is a top-down approach programming structure, and while doing so it will not find reference for dob. So what we need to do is we need to define the structure before our main structure. So let's move on to our main function. Int main. Here I'll be defining few variables for loop counter and our int I comma j for loop counter, and then choice to handle our menu driven structure later on. Let me initialize choice to 0. Now let's declare a variable for our structure student. To do so, we use struct keyword, then our tag name. This will define the type of our structure, and then the variable name should be class 2018. It can be any name with the size that we defined earlier in the program. That size is 45. So this will now create a class 2018 array variable for the structure student. Now let us also create another variable that will be float avz underscore GPA. This will store average GPA of student. Now let's start by collecting information of 45 different students. To do so, what we need to do is we need to initialize a loop for I is equals to 0 to I less than or equals to size minus 1 and I plus plus. This will start a loop that will range from 0 to size minus 1. Let's first ask for name, printf, enter name of student, and with semicolon, and then scanf. Because our name will be string, so we are using conversion character %s. While doing so, because string is an array or character array, we do not need to write ampersand over here, because we use ampersand to get the address of the variable, and for arrays the name of array will itself point to the base address of array, so we can only mention the array name. And because array is inside the student structure and we have the student structure's variable name as class 2018, to access that name from class 2018 we do class 2018, then index, first index, and then name. So over here what happens is it will point to I index of class 2018 while I is 0, first student of class 2018, and its name. Okay, so let's store roll number, printf, because our roll number is integer we do %d as format specifier, and we do ampersand class 2018 on ith index and then roll number. Similar to this, what happened over here on line number 36 is we are storing roll number of student. To do so we do ampersand class 2018 on the ith index and then on the roll number. So for GPA, because GPA is an array of 8 different elements, floating points, what we need to do is we need to create another nested loop, because for one student that is represented by I index we need 8 different GPAs. So what we do is for j is equals to 0 to j less than 8 and j plus plus, printf and GPA of %s for semester %d. If you are confused on what we are doing over here with %s and %d is we are trying to replace this %s with the name of a student and %d with the semester. Let's do class 2018 I dot name. This will give the name of student that is stored on ith index. For the current one, it will give the current name of the student that you just inserted over here. So, and the semester will be j plus 1 because j starts from 0 and we need to ask for first semester, so we do j plus 1 and that will give 0 plus 1 as 1 on the first loop. And then we do scanf %f because GPA is in float, ampersand class 2018 on index I, then GPA on index j. So over here what happens is for the first student or for the one student, what we do is we need to store 8 different GPAs that will be handled by this loop counter j. So on first index of class 2018 or for ith index of class 2018, what we do is we store GPA on 8 different indexes of array. After this, we collect address of student, printf, enter. So first information about address is to enter word numbers, enter word number, then we do scanf %d. So over here, because word number is nested inside student and then inside address, to access it what we do is we do name of this structure that is class 2018 and we use dot operator and then variable name of this nested structure that is address. So class 2018 I dot address dot word number, we write it as ampersand class 2018 on index I, address, and then word number. I hope you understand over here, because we have nested address inside our student structure. So to access word number from within the address, what we do is we use first variable name of the main structure and then the variable name of nested structure and then the member name. Okay, so let's collect street name, because street name is in a string or character array, we do not need to write ampersand, we directly write class 2018 I dot address dot street name. Let's collect city, similar to street name, we don't need to write ampersand, class 2018 I address dot city. After address information, we collect date of birth information. Because it is an integer, we give a sample integer number over there. Scanf, offset, sorry for that, %d, then ampersand class 2018 on index I, dob, that is our variable name for nested structure, date of birth, and then day. Printf, we enter for month is in character array, Jan, that is example of how you write month. Scanf %s class 2018 I dot dob dot month. Then printf, we call it year. %d, okay, so few things you need to understand from this part is, while you are accessing a string from within a structure, what you need to do is you don't have to write ampersand, and you use a dot operator to access the member name of the structure. And to write, while writing, so you do variable name of the structure, use dot operator, and then the member name. So if you have to access a member name from within the nested structure, then what you do is you write the variable name of main structure, then use dot operator, and again write variable name of the nested structure, and use dot operator again and write the member name from inside the nested structure. Another thing is, for string you do not write ampersand, for float and integer you write ampersand. Okay, so this is all for collecting data for the structure. So after collecting data for the structure, let's create a menu. If you remember from the program, let's write menu, give some line breaks to maintain the space. Printf from, let me copy the part from the question. This is our first task of menu, to print name and address of a student who match the street name as Malepatan. Then another is printf % for this one. Printf. Then the third task is to print name and date of birth of a student. Then let's add another task on menu to end the program if someone selects number 4, that will exit from the program. Because we are using number 4 to exit from the program, what we need to check is if user is entering number 4 or not. So for this, what we can do is we can put this menu inside a while loop and use a sentinel value called choice and not equals to 4. So what happens over here is, if we put this menu inside it, because our default value of choice is initialized to 0, for the first time it enters inside this loop, and it will ask for 4 different choices, 1 to 4, and if someone enters 4, then the loop will exit and it will go outside loop. So let's see, let's ask for the choice. Printf, enter your choice, that is from 1 to 4, and store it on the variable choice. Scanf %d ampersand choice. So now to perform each task from within the menu, what we use is switch, and we'll pass choice as parameter for switch. So our case will be 1 2 3 4, as we are giving the choice as integer. So for case 1, if someone presses 1, then for 1 what we need to do is we need to print address and student who have Malepatan as a street name. So let's print what we are doing in this case. Printf student with address Malepatan are, let's break line over here and over here. So to check if the address or if the street address of a student is Malepatan or not, what we need to do is we need to iterate through the structure, and because our structure is of some size that is defined inside the constant size, what we do is we use for loop that ranges from I equals to 0 to our size, I less than or equals to size minus 1. If you are confused why we are doing size minus 1, is because the array index of size of the array of structure is 45, and what happens is array is indexed from 0 to size minus 1. So to store 45 different address, C uses 0 to 44 index in the array. So to access it, what we do is we range the for loop from 0 to 44. I plus plus, we increment on every step of for, and then we compare if strcmp our address street name to 018 I dot address dot street name with Malepatan, and if this is identical, strcmp will return 0, and if that's 0, what we need to do is we need to print f %s, that is for name, then tab to maintain some space, and then another %s for the address, and interchange line for next information. Class 2018 I dot name, and then class 2018 I dot address dot street name. Okay, so what happens over here is we check for every student by using for loop. Then inside each student, what we do is we take their street name and compare it with the string Malepatan, as this is the street address given on the question, and if these two addresses are identical, the string comparing function strcmp will return 0, and if that's 0, then we need to print name and address of that student. So to use strcmp function, what we need to do is we need to add another preprocessor directive. for string handling function, include string.h. Let's save this program with name structure 2018.c. Okay, so we have done the first case, and let's break it. And another case, we look for GPA. Let's break it and work inside the case. Printf, so we'll be printing students with average average GPA greater than 3.2. okay, 3.2. and so for this, again, we need to initialize a loop that ranges from I equals to 0 to I less than or equals to size -1. What you can also do over here is less than size and then remove this -1. That is another way of writing or ranging the for loop. So to calculate average, what we need to do is we need to add all the GPA of one student and then divide it by 8. So to get all the GPA, we need to nest another loop. J is equals to 0 from j is less than 8, j plus plus. Inside this loop, what we do is we add average GPA with class 2018 I dot GPA j. This gives us, inside the loop, this gives us 8 different GPA for one student, okay, and adds it inside average GPA. So outside this for loop, what we do is we calculate average by doing avg minus z underscore GPA is equals to avg underscore GPA divided by 8.0. So what happens is it calculates the average and stores it inside average GPA again. So this will be done for one student. So for next student, what we need to do is we need to reinitialize average GPA to 0. So let's check if the average GPA is greater than 3.2 or not. Is greater than 3.2, then we print the GPA and student name %f %s tab, then %f for floating point numbers, and then 18 name and avg GPA. What happens over here is it will print the name of the student and then print the average GPA of that student. Okay, so that will be all for case 2. Let's move on to case number 3. For case number 3, what we are doing is we are printing name and date of birth of students who were born before 2000. So if someone enters 3, print f. What we do is we print student who were born before 2000. Again, we need to initialize a loop to go through all students' information. we can directly check if the year is less than 2000 for each student. DOB and year is less than 2000. Then what we can do is we can print their name, percentage as for name, and then date of birth, percentage D for day, percentage S for month, and percentage D for year. Change line over here, and then for percentage S, that is for name, class 2018 I dot name, then percentage D is for day, so class 2018 I dot dob dot day, class 2018, let's bring it over here, class 2018 I dot dob dot month, class 2018 I dot dob dot year. Okay, so this will print name along with the date of birth of that student. So for case 3 we break the case over here. For case 4 we exit the program with the method exit. So this method comes from the header file stdlib, so we need to initialize it, include it over here, has include stdlib, standard library functions. Okay, so we have for exit, and if for default, if someone enters something out of 1, 2, 3 and 4, then we print invalid choice. We do not need to break the default case. So we end switch over here, we end while over here, then we do return 0 from the main, and let's bring this over here. Okay, so let's go through our program again. So these are preprocessor directives that we'll need to run different functions within this program. These are a few constants that we'll be needing to define size of character array and then size of the structure array. Here we have a structure for date of birth, then our main structure is student with 2 nested structure, address and date of birth. Inside main we have defined 3 different integer variables, I and j for loop counters and choice for our menu driven structure. Then we have defined structure variable, that is array of size and of structure type student. Then we have another floating point variable to store average GPA of student. Then we initialize a loop that ranges from 0 to size -1, and we ask for different information for the structure. Then after collecting all the information for the structure, we give user with the menu to choose from 4 different options. Then when the choice is from 1 to 4, then we pass it inside the switch case, and if the case is 1, we compare the address of the student with, or the street name of the student's address with Malepatan, and if the comparison gives true condition for 2 strings to be matched, then we print student's name and student's street name. Then on second case we calculate average GPA of each student, and if the average GPA is greater than 3.2, we print their name and average GPA. On case 3, we check if student's year of date of birth is less than 2000, and if it's true, then we print their name and then the date of birth. On case 4, we exit the program. On default case, we show them invalid choice. So let's compile and run this program. Okay, so let me change few things, because currently what we are doing is we are asking for 45 different students information, and it is troublesome to enter 45 different information. So let me change the size to 2 and then compile and run it again. I'll enter my own information. So I have given 8 different GPA for 8 different semester. Date of birth 10 Jan 1999. So it is asking for student number 2. I'll say Jack. His roll number is 36. His code 3.2, 3.1, 3.0, 3.0. Let's give him less than 3.2, so 2.6, 2.5, 2.4, 2.3. Okay, then word number is 10, UTTA Amuttam, and then Pokhara. Date of birth is 20 March 1998. Okay, so we are given the menu over here. I missed the line breakpoint before enter your choice, so let's enter 1. What happens over here when we give 1 as choice is it prints name of his friend with their address if the address is Malepatan. So over here, because we entered Malepatan for Luzan's address, so it is printing Luzan and Malepatan. Let's see GPA. Enter 2. Luzan has 3.55 GPA, and at 3, then both students were born before 2000, so we are printing both students information over here. And if we press 4, then we exit from the program. I hope you have understood what we have done over here in our program. If there is any question, please mention it on the comment section, and I'll also link the program on the description, so do not forget to check out that link. And also don't forget to like, share and subscribe this video. Thank you.